protest from last night. How many of you guys saw the insanity? It was crazy. I was getting ready to go to bed, and I just happened to turn on, and I tell you, Breitbart was doing some great coverage. I mean, they were up in there. I was watching all sorts of stuff along with 25,000 other people. Well, between 20 and 25,000, you know, just the silent majority at home watching it. And it was insane. I mean, just crazy. And so I went ahead, and what I did for you guys is I time-stamped a lot of the must-see stuff. And so, I mean, I saw Rand Paul happen live. I was like, that's Rand Paul. Like, oh my goodness, that's Rand Paul. A lot of other people too. We haven't really seen that much in the news, but worth checking out. However, I did just want to do really quick, a quick summary of, you know, what I really heard last night. And it was a lot of, this is going to be my impression of pretty much every Antifa protest ever. And it's a lot of like mindless chant, repeat back what I just heard. And then it's a lot of angry noises. And then it's emotional outbursts. Medic. It's all of that. That's all it is. It's just a series of loud, shouting, angry noises over and over again. And it's almost predictable. It's almost completely predictable. The other crazy things that I always think is interesting is when a white person feels the need to explain to a minority police officer why they're on the wrong side and what are they doing. I will say, shout out, there was a police officer last night, African American man, protester, talking, and he's like, you're on the wrong side, you should be on this side. And the officer said, you know what, come join us, you be the change, you come over here, you come join us, you be the change. And so God bless those men and women. I cannot imagine what it would be like to have 20-somethings yelling at me how I've made the wrong choices in my life, I'm on the wrong side of this argument, just really screaming. I mean, honestly, it's not even coherent. A lot of times it's not even coherent. It is really just nonstop screaming. And there was one lady I saw last night. It wasn't on Breitbart's coverage, it was on America Voice. And she just was screaming at police officers. And then there's another guy there, it's like a kazoo, but a really long, like horn kazoo. It just basically sounds like a long fart, and it's just in this guy's face, this police officer's face, nonstop. I don't understand. What I don't understand is, in so many ways for me, I feel like that is just, you know, one, noise pollution, and then two, just personal space, you know, like, get out of my space, man. So lots to cover here, and I do want to talk through some of it. I time-stamped it all, wrote it down. It's in one of my posts underneath this page, or underneath this post, is the actual Breitbart coverage, but there's a lot to see there. It's about 3 hours long, so I want to give you the highlights, all right? So at 29 minutes in, that's why I'm looking down at my notes, at 29 minutes in, 14 seconds, there is 2 people dressed in what looks like pig costumes, and then they come across a guy that's dressed in a Trump costume, and then they proceed, which is weird because it's not really Trump, right? It's not really Trump, but yet the way that they're reacting to him, it's like it is Trump, and they make him take a knee. And so it's kind of a weird, awkward exchange. If you're into watching weird stuff, go for that. Okay, then at 1 hour and 5 minutes in, between basically 1 hour and 9 minutes in, there's a guy that's outside of a barricade, and I cannot place him. I know who he is, but I cannot figure out who he is. I looked around, but he's got a New York accent. He's out there, and the whole mob's around him. There's a police officer between him. It's like a barricade, him, police officer, and just a mob of people. And so they're all screaming at him, and God bless him. You know, I love some of these guys who just maintain their disposition. I don't know how they do it. I pray that if I'm ever in that situation, I would maintain my disposition. But he's there, talk to him, and he's saying, you know, America's voting this, America's saying this, and these people are just screaming at him. So in order to scream him down, you know, he goes to say, like, the American people, and then the whole crowd goes into this wonderful old classic of the progressive left: stolen people, stolen land, stolen people, stolen land. And they just shouted him the whole time. And then it kind of like dies down, and they start yelling other stuff and trying to talk with him. I don't know, speak at him. And then he gets to the point where it's 1 hour and 9 minutes in, and the crowd, in a true Game of Thrones style, as if they're screaming at, Queen Circe, walking through the streets, shame, 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 shame. I mean, it's like right out of television, you guys. It is a little freaky. I think Handmaid's Tale does the same thing. I'm pretty sure in Handmaid's Tale does the same thing. So that's where the progressive left is at, my friends. All right, so then at 1 hour 25 minutes, there's I'm fairly confident. In fact, I think he says this, that he's from New York. So there's lots of people with lots of different accents, by the way. These aren't DC people. These are people that have been bussed in, paid to be there. And so 1 hour 25 minutes, a young guy, pretty sure he said he was in high school too, but you can't tell because he's got a whole bank robbery face mask on and goggles as if he's going skiing. But he's the mask police. And he is just screaming at this one Secret Service officer, and he's waving masks in his face, just waving the masks in his face. And he's telling everyone around him he doesn't care about your kid. He doesn't care about your kid. He doesn't care about this, F this, all this stuff, right? Explicative-laden talking points. And so eventually the Secret Service officer just grabs the masks and throws them on the ground. And that just irritates him more. At which point, around 1 hour 31 minutes, same Antifa gentleman starts fighting racism pretty much with racism. And starts telling this guy that he's Russian, his name's Vladimir, he can't be trusted. So nothing like fighting racism with more racism. It's just amazing. White guy, of course. So, all right. Then we've got, this is even crazier. Okay, so while the mask police guy is screaming at the Secret Service agent, the woman to his left, who also brought what appears to be an 8-year-old child to this fantastic family-friendly event, she is asking, isn't wearing a mask. Okay, she's not even wearing a mask, but this mask police doesn't care. But anyway, so they kind of got to switch the battery out in the camera at Breitbart. He walks back up there, at which point it catches her saying, how big is that? I'm pretty sure referring either to the Secret Service agent's genitalia or Trump's genitalia is smaller than her pinky. She's like, am I right? You could confirm it. Am I right? And then at which the small child parrots back to her, that's why Donald Trump doesn't like us, because he has a smaller than my aunt's pinky. I'm not sure what child abuse is, but I think taking somebody to what is clearly in this a fairly violent, hostile environment, and I mean, in so many ways, teaching hate. I mean, who am I? I don't know. I'm just saying, not sure where that falls. I'm not sure what that constitutes. Okay, so then we get to, this is like, so now as the time goes on, it just gets more and more insane. It really does. There is at 2 hours, 16 minutes, GOP committee member Chris, I think it's Ager is how you say it, walks out with his wife, trying to go to the hotel, accosted by people. And so they're walking, and just people just screaming at him, screaming at his wife. Then there's this one really, truly unstable woman. I think it's a woman. Yeah, pretty sure it's a woman. Sounded like a woman. Actually looked like a woman at this event. And so she's walking around. She got a full-on bank robbery mask on and screaming at him. Gets up right behind him as he's trying to get in the door, and starts basically like gyrating on him, behind him. Couldn't get in. The guy at the hotel is trying to like let them in. It's just not working. So the wife, all these women too, I gotta give a shout out to all these wives out there looking out for their husbands. And so the wife basically taps him on the shoulder, and I'm pretty sure says, let's just go to the car. And so then they make their way down into the garage, which no one followed them in. And it was just crazy to watch. And so this girl actually manifests again. There's one in here. I'm trying to find where the timestamp is. I might not have written it down. Anti-Trump, no mask. Anyway, I'll put it in the post. But there's another instance where she again is in front of a hotel building, different entrance. There's a Asian police officer standing there. And so as the Breitbart camera walks up, she's got to be this close to him. I mean, it has to be that close to him, in his face. And then you realize, oh, she's also Asian, and she starts not just screaming at him in English, she starts screaming at him in another language. Like, I wish I knew other languages. Who knows what it is? If you know what it is, let me know. But she's very unstable, clearly. And so she has 2 appearances predominantly in the Breitbart broadcast. Another time we have, also comical, is 2 hours, 35 minutes in, Maryland State delegate. I don't think he says his name. I didn't go do the research to find out who he is. But this guy's actually trying to reason with the mob, which is also strange. And so he's outside of the hotel entrance. It's like him, the door, a guy with the hotel security, and then a very perturbed Mrs. Maryland State delegate, and she's ready to go, like all over her face. I love reading people's faces, and it's like, she's like, what are you doing? Like, it's got that face on, like, get in the hotel, what are you doing? And so he's out there, and they're like, you support Trump? And he's like, yeah, I support Trump. They're like, oh, I can't believe you support Trump. And then they're like, well, why do you support Trump? And he's like, well, and he's so calm too. It's like, I don't know what he's on, but it's like, I just want to be that chill all the time. I don't know if it's the Holy Ghost or what, but he's just really chill. And he's like, well, he's done more for the Black community. And then you couldn't hear anything else because everybody was like, he hasn't done anything for the Black community. I'm like, if you only knew, if you just did your research, but you can't reason, right? You can't, like, none of it is logical. No one really wants to have a conversation. And so at that point, the wife, kind of sees the crowd escalating. She leans over that security guard and like pulls him on the jacket, and he's like, I gotta go, which, shout out to wives. Okay, and then we've got other notable things. Our last 2 here is at 2 hours and 42 minutes in, Representative Vernon Jones. And so y'all will remember him from the RNC this week, lifelong Democrat, now Trump supporter. And I don't think they knew who he was. It's really anyone that was dressed well is pretty much who they targeted. There was no asking, anything like that. If you just look remotely put together, you became a target of the mob. And so they're walking around, him and his guest, and just stop. Just straight up, they just swarm people all around them. And there are way more police presence around Representative Vernon, more than there was Rand Paul. And I know everybody saw Rand Paul today, and when I saw that one happen, I was like, this is gonna be on the news. And so anyway, so he was kind of stopped, but the police really were able to get him to his hotel. He didn't have that far to go. Wasn't too traumatic, but honestly the most traumatic, where I literally just started praying for Senator Rand Paul and his wife and the 2 guests that were with him. Breitbart camera walks up. There aren't a ton of people around him at that point, but he is stopped, and I saw him, and I was like, that's Rand Paul. Like, that is definitely Rand Paul. And people don't always know, the people around don't know. Again, it's just like a guy in a suit and a woman in a nice dress, and they just were very harassing of him. I was really worried for his safety because they couldn't get reinforcements. You can kind of hear it in the video. They couldn't get reinforcements to Senator Paul, and you could just see in his wife's face, like he didn't look too bad, but his wife, you could tell, and again, they got masked, but you could tell in their eyes just genuine concern for safety. And so they ended up moving. I mean, I think hopefully a lot of you saw his interview today on Fox and Friends. But they ended up moving him the other block that he had to go. He retold the story today, where he said, I really regret the choice, but they were bussed out, everything's blocked, and so they had to Uber back somewhere, towards their hotel. And turns out that he said, well, I made the decision to walk 2 blocks, and they made it 1 block, and then that last block they got stopped, and there had to have been 80 people around him or more, and just screaming. There was like only 2 or 3 police officers, and so finally they advance. One of the police officers on the way is tripped. Senator Paul catches him and just kind of like helps stabilize him, and then they keep walking. But you guys, I can't imagine. I love DC. I was watching mainly because I'm like, I know where those streets are. So I'm like, oh, there's the W and there's the Intercontinental, and It's just terrifying. It's terrifying that people have to go through this. And many of the people there had accents. In fact, like the one I was talking about in the America's Voice, their coverage, just the lady that was really manifesting was French. I mean, you could hear the French accent. So you're like, you're not a protest. You're not from Washington, D.C., French lady. What are you doing here? All right, New York masked police guy. What the heck are you doing here? I'm telling you, these people are like, defund the police. They don't even live in these communities. So anyways, especially with Senator Paul, he talked about today on Fox and Friends, he's really the author of the legislation of the no-knock police raids. It just shows you just how low information these people are. If anybody's fighting for criminal justice reform, it's Senator Rand Paul. So it was insane to watch. I mean, I was really praying for him last night. I know a lot of people were on the Breitbart feed. There's about 20,000 people watching. A lot of people were saying, please pray for his safety. And so, guys, it's just, these protests are just so contrived. And it's not even, of course, everybody thinks Black Lives Matter, right? I mean, the movement, no one wants to support a Marxist organization, but all lives matter. Black lives matter. White lives matter. Brown lives matter. All lives matter. And Black lives matter. And the statement I don't have a problem with, but being forced to do the, communist Marxist fist raise and being forced to do things, you're like, this is America. It reminds me of that Seinfeld episode where Kramer doesn't want to wear the ribbon. And he's like, I don't want to wear the ribbon. And then it's like, he's not wearing the ribbon. He's not wearing the ribbon. And then it's like, who's not wearing the ribbon? And then Kramer gets all beat up for not wearing the ribbon. And it's just, this groupthink is terrifying. This mob rule stuff is terrifying. So buy a gun. Make sure you have a gun, 2 or 3, It's like, that's the only thing to do. I mean, that's the only thing I can think to keep myself safe, to keep my family safe. It's not a majority of Americans. This is not how a majority of Americans are thinking and feeling and what they want. And it's like 0.0000001% of our society is violent. And honestly, in so many ways, it's just like they don't understand respect. They don't want to have a dialogue. They just want to stir up chaos and anarchy, and they want lawlessness, and you can't have that. And so, one of these, I don't want to go too long, but there's this one line, what is Calvin Coolidge writes it was the 300th anniversary of the Mayflower Compact, and he has this line at the end of it talking about the Mayflower Compact, and he says, any form of government is better than anarchy. And it's just powerful, it's like some of the things he says about the Mayflower Compact and how it was designed to prevent lawlessness from taking over in the first colony. And it's really the foundation that we get our founding documents from, our Constitution from. And it's just a really powerful statement of, any form of government is better than anarchy. And then it's like and then he says something along the lines of like, and anything that tries to tear down like that government institution is an attack on civilization itself. It's something along those lines. I'll find it and I'll post it on this broadcast, because it's 100% what we're going through right now. And lawlessness can't be allowed to continue. It just can't. And so, I would assume a lot of what we saw last night was the mayor of DC's doing. I'm very surprised it wasn't protected more for the guests who were leaving. And it felt incredibly understaffed. And I'll say, when I went to Tulsa, they blocked off entire streets and really directed everybody to go this way, away from the protesters. And there was really no intermingling, just for everyone's safety. And that didn't seem like it was done last night. So I don't know if that falls on the RNC, or where that falls, or if that's the mayor of DC. But the police department seemed understaffed. And I don't know if that was on purpose. So anyways, I just want to talk about the protests. I wanted to give you guys the highlight reel so you don't have to watch 3 hours of it. You can just go to the post underneath this one and fast forward to the Breitbart video and see the insanity yourself. So yeah. Okay, well, hopefully you guys have a great day. And, I wish, I'm not like the type of person to do this, but, all these, I really thought it was funny if somebody just does a spoof of a Antifa protest, of what it sounds like. You know what it sounds like to everybody at home, where it's just like angry voices, angry loud noises. It's like emotional outburst, and just screaming. Like, it doesn't seem like it would be such a funny SNL skit. I think it would be hilarious, because that's what it sounds like to the rest of America watching. It sounds insane. It really does. Okay, bye guys, talk to you later.